Hey, my name is Dan Hall. Welcome to Dan H411 Guitar Lessons, where I basically break down for you how to play lead guitar, build up your speed, build up your chops, play solos the way that you want to play them, be able to take what's in your brain, what you got there, and be able to express it through your fingers and express it through your playing. In order to do that, I've got a free course for you at tinyurl.com/danh411. Hop on over there and check that out. Get on my mailing list and I send you bonuses. I'll let you know when I come out with new lessons. Any courses that I come out with, I'll tell you about. And if you go on over there right now, you get that free course. It's 7 days to unlock the fretboard. Understand the fretboard in a circular fashion. Understand the circular shapes, how the shapes lock together like puzzle pieces, and how you can play intuitively, play with confidence, and shred with ease. So be sure to check that out. And in this lesson, this is number 4 of a 4-part series that I've done over the past few weeks, where basically I'm showing you how to do some practices with some non-musical stuff. We're using some chromatic stuff. I'm using all 4 fingers, and I'm just going across 4 frets chromatically, but taking some shapes that we can go ahead and train our fingers to play really differently than what we may be used to be able to put that into our muscle memory, so that when I apply this stuff to scale shapes, I can go ahead and play those scale shapes with a lot more ease than I would have been before if I was just trying to learn the scale shapes or the licks or whatever without any warm-up, without any exercises, without any basic foundation. So this is going to give you a really cool basic foundation to help you train your fingers to play the way that you want them to play. So this is part 4. Check it out. If you haven't seen part 1, 2, and 3, definitely go check those out, but we're basically using these kinds of shapes. I'm using all 4 fingers, playing across the 7th, the 8th, 9th, and the 10th frets. Now in the past couple lessons, we've learned some really cool exercises that we could apply to these shapes. Some different patterns and phrases that, of course, if you applied them to scale shapes and they were played over a backing track, they would sound very musical. Right now it doesn't sound so musical, but in future lessons I'm sure I'll take a lot of these shapes and break them down for you and show you how they can sound musical as well. Right now we're just playing chromatic. It sounds a little off, but you got to learn how to bake the cake. You got to learn the ingredients to put in the cake. You got to learn how to, fold the stuff in and what temperature to put the oven on. You got to learn all that foundational stuff before you can actually eat the cake, and that's what we want to do, right? We want to get to the point where we can eat the cake, where we can impress our friends, get up on stage and play and solo and impress ourselves and write really cool music and songs and play and have fun with this, but we got to get there first, and to get there, we have to understand these basic foundational things. A lot of it is scales, but you also have to get your fingers to move right, and if your fingers don't move right, it doesn't matter how many scales you know. You can memorize the stuff on a computer screen all you want. Oh, okay, I know those scales. I know exactly where to play. And then you start playing and you play like this. Because your fingers just don't want to do what you want them to do. How do you get your fingers to do what you want them to do? You got to train them. So this is what these kinds of exercises do. And in the last 3 lessons, I showed you different ways you could train your fingers. And this one I'm going to show you one more. It's going to be a little more complicated than the rest of them. And that's for good reason, because if you've been playing with the rest of them, then you should be to the point by now where your fingers are moving a little bit easier. If not, go back and check out those other videos. Take your time with it. It might take you a couple of weeks, a couple of months to get to this point where it feels good, right? Everything takes time. Don't expect to be a virtuoso right out of the gate. If you are, that's awesome. But most of us aren't. So since you're not probably going to be a virtuoso right out of the gate, you got to practice, and practice takes time. It might take years to get good at some of these things. I see these kid YouTubers out there who are playing better than I ever could, even after I've been playing for most of my adult life, but I haven't gotten there. And if you haven't gotten there and you're like me, then these exercises are definitely going to help you. Okay, so in this one, what we're going to do is we're going to look at a shape that's going to sound like this. And I'm going to play that across every set of 2 strings, going up and then coming back. So it's going to sound like this the whole thing. And then going backwards. So that right there is similar to what we did in the last video, but it's a little more complicated and it requires a little bit more thinking about it until you get it to the point where it is tacit or intuitive. So we're going to start on the 5th string, and I'm going to go back to the 6th string and play 7 on the 5th string, 8, 7 on the 6th string. Come back to the 8 on the 6th string, and then I'm going to go ahead and go back to the 5th string, play the 7, the 8, the 7, go back to the 6th string, play the 8. That's the whole pattern. Same pattern is going to repeat across every single set of 2 strings. In the last video we had a pattern that looked like this. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're adding a couple of notes. It's not exactly the same pattern that we're adding this to, but we're adding a couple of notes to that last sequence. Not exactly the same, but think of it like that. So we're building. I think in the previous lessons maybe it was like 3 notes and then 4 notes and then 6 notes, and now we're at 8 notes. So it's helping you understand how to build on top of what you already know. So one more time. And then we're just going to go ahead and transfer this to the 4th and the 5th strings. On the 4th string I want to play the 7. On the 5th string I'm playing 8, 7. Back to 8. Back to the 4th string, 7. And then I'm going to go ahead and play the 8, the 7, and then back to the 5th string and play the 8. And of course we can play that as a round, like right as a solo. On the high strings in a scale shape, get that up to speed, it's going to sound really cool. But we're just going to go ahead and do that across all 6 strings, from the 5th to the 6th, the 4th to the 5th, the 3rd to the 4th, the 2nd to the 3rd, and the 1st to the 2nd. Again, it's not musical, but you just go ahead and play that to get this in your muscle memory. So one more time. There really is no turnaround here. You just go ahead and go back to the 1st string and play the shape across the 1st and 2nd string again. I'm ending on the 2nd string at the 8th fret, so we just go ahead and go back to the 7th fret and play that shape across the 2nd and the 3rd strings. And then the 3rd string and the 4th string. And then the 4th and the 5th. And then the 5th and the 6th. And then the 5th and the 6th again, and just go back up. So picking wise, down, up, 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 down, up. So you're just playing like that, okay? Just alternate picking. And again, you can play with different ways to pick. It might be something that what I'm doing doesn't translate really well into what you want to do. You may not be able to force yourself to do alternate picking on this, but if you can't, try, because it'll challenge you to sync your right hand and your left hand up, which is one of the things we're doing as well. Not just working on these fingers, but syncing our right hand and our left hand up. If it's too difficult for you and you feel like starting on an upstroke might be better, right? Or if you feel like doing some legato might be better. Something like that. If you feel like that would be better, then try that as well. There's all kinds of different ways you can do it. Different people are going to have different experiences with this, so take your time, find out what works best for you. But that's the basic shape. And then of course we're going to do that with the index finger and the middle finger across the 7th fret and the 9th frets. So we start on the 5th string, go to the 4th, go to the 3rd, go to the 2nd, go to the 1st. Back to the 1st, 2nd, then 3rd, then 4th, and then 5th. And I think I did start on upstrokes on a lot of those. But that's okay. Okay, again, you're working on building your muscle memory, trying to figure out what works best for you. And then you might fall into idiosyncrasies where what you're training yourself to do may not work as best as what you intuitively know how to do. But you still need the foundation. In order to get to the point where you can play intuitively, you got to learn that foundation. And then once it starts flowing, you might automatically just kind of change things up. So now we're going to go ahead and do 1st finger pinky. And same thing, this one's going to be across the 7th and the 10th fret. And then middle finger, pinky, across the 8th and the 10th frets. And then middle finger and ring finger across the 8th and the 9th frets. And then of course last will be ring finger pinky across the 9th and the 10th frets. And that is going to go ahead and give you that sequence where if you do that backwards and forwards, just keep playing with it. You know, up the strings, down the strings, then with each finger, with each different combination, it's going to go ahead and basically train the tendons, the ligaments, the muscles, whatever, you know, the nerves, you know, whatever you got inside your hand there, right? It's going to train it to be able to move the way that you want it to. And eventually, it'll start moving automatically without you really thinking about it. And that's what muscle memory is. That's what playing intuitively is. So you can go ahead and get into different patterns and different shapes that maybe you didn't know before. One of the first patterns that I learned was this Paul Gilbert lick that sounds like this. And that one that I just showed you is kind of a Paul Gilbert-esque lick, but it's more of a pentatonic based version. And I play that thing all over the place. I put that in my muscle memory and that comes out as an expression almost every single time I play. And it's not that I want to get away from that. I want to keep using that lick. I just want to add more stuff to my vocabulary. So I want to be able to play that as a pentatonic as well. So in the pentatonic, you might have something like this. Something like that, as opposed to, which is more diatonic. It's not exactly the same thing, but the idea is to get that shape into my muscle memory so that it kind of just naturally comes out when I'm playing and I can just put it all over the place anytime I feel like putting it in. Or not feel like putting it in, it just flows because I'm used to playing it and I play it so much that it just comes out. That's where true improvisation comes in. That's how you get really good at improvisation. That's how you get really good at soloing. And of course, when you write your own solos, if you're playing parts that you can already improvise with, then it's also easier to remember those solos later on because you know that you played that lick here and you played that lick here. And it's easy to come back to that because you're not trying to find something that you just don't remember how you did it. You already know how you did it because it's something that you know how to do. So don't Don't forget to get my free course, tinyurl.com/danny411. Sign up for my mailing list and I'll send you all kinds of goodies. Let me know in the comments what you think about this lesson, this last series of lessons. Let me know what else you want, and I'll see you in the next lesson.